In this series, we're trying to change our negative mindset around van life in England by visiting some of its most beautiful bits. But rather than go for the big hitters that can often get overrun with tourists, we're hoping to find a few hidden gems by heading to some of England's least visited areas of outstanding natural beauty. This week, we've moved slightly further north to an AONB packed with history. We are in the North Wessex Downs, home to a giant stone circle, a town where royalty wander the streets, a grim reminder of old school justice, the most ridiculous height barrier we've come across to date, and incredible views, although not of what we intended to be looking at. We're starting our journey this week in the world's largest stone circle. And no, I'm not talking about Stonehenge. We're actually at a place called Averyhenge. And it is so big that there are sheep grazing in the middle of it. In fact, it's so big that there's a pub in it. Not only is there a pub, but there are 2 gift shops, a community shop, a post office, there's a church. In fact, there's a whole high street and an entire village inside this stone circle. This awesome Neolithic structure is widely estimated to have been built in around 2600 BC, which makes Avebury even older than its much more famous counterpart Stonehenge. Made up of around 100 stones of varying shapes and sizes, it was constructed over the course of several hundred years. While there are loads of theories on why it was built and what its historical significance is, the truth is that it's pretty much a mystery. But most archaeologists agree that it was probably designed to be the site of some sort of rituals or ceremonies, most likely religious. It's pretty difficult to convey the sheer size of this site because the stones just stretch on as far as the eye can see pretty much. And there's not just a stone circle, there are multiple stone circles. There are smaller ones, there are bigger ones, there are inner circles, outer circles. It's just absolutely incredible. Well, I think we've found definitively the most ridiculous height barrier in the country. I'm literally taller than it. What's going to fit under that? Well, considering that I'd literally never heard of this place until this morning, and its fame is somewhat overshadowed by a certain other henge that is just down the road, it was a surprisingly really interesting visit. I found that very fascinating, and we spent a really lovely afternoon amongst the rocks. We are now going to jump in the cab and head on to our first park up in this area, which is hopefully just a 15-minute drive away. Today we are on a mission to find some egg cups because Adie's recently got into eating boiled eggs and they're a little bit difficult to eat without them, and it's pretty much the only thing that we don't have in our van. But there are a couple of problems. The first one is that we are in a town called Marlborough. Now, Marlborough has got a history that is longer than London's, and if you're wondering why you might have heard of it, it's probably because of a place called Marlborough College, which is based here, and where royalty, politicians and the elite of the British society have traditionally sent their kids. So we're thinking that it might be a little bit posh and probably quite expensive. Now, the second problem is that we have parked directly outside of a playground, so we're going to really struggle to drag Adie away from it. This is 100% her favourite park up that we've been to so far. Marlborough is indeed a little bit posh, and its high street, bookended by a church at either end, is as quaint an English scene as you could wish to see, with ramshackle timbered buildings, ornate glasswork and little alleyways and lanes full of independent shops.
Okay, I think we found some, and even better, they're on sale. Let's get them.
And if you're wondering, famous alumni of the school I mentioned before include Kate Middleton, now the Princess of Wales, Princess Eugenie, granddaughter of the former Queen, as well as people like comedian Jack Whitehall and singer-songwriter Nick Drake. Pretty illustrious.
We have left Marlborough and we are back out in the wild where we prefer to be. Jay has just knocked up an amazing looking catsuit curry and I am so excited about it.
Good morning and welcome back to another day of great British summertime. In all seriousness though, it is really grey and overcast, and there was a little touch of rain earlier as well. People in this country like to say that there is no bad weather, there's just bad clothing. I say that's absolute nonsense, but we're taking no chances. We've got our waterproofs on, we've got our welly boots on, and we've got flasks of tea to keep us warm on the way as well. And we're going out to enjoy some more of this great British countryside.
Oh my gosh, it's so windy, so hopefully you can hear me. This behind me is called Coombs Gibbet, and it is essentially just a massive hanging pole that people were actually hung from. Now, it only happened in one instance here, but what the crime was is that two people, a man and a woman, were having an affair, and they actually killed the man's wife and their son, and someone saw them do it, so they got tried for the crime and ended up hung on that right in the middle of this hill, so that you could see for miles and miles around and people could be deterred from doing the same, I guess.
I don't know how rigorous they were about checking testimonies back in 1676, but apparently the person who saw and reported the murders was nicknamed Mad Thomas, and the alleged method of murder was shoving the wife's head into a hornet's nest. Make of that what you will.
We're just on our way back to the van to get some lunch, and we just realised we parked right next to what is actually the highest point in this area of outstanding natural beauty. It's called Warbury Hill, and not only is it the highest point in the North Wessex Downs, it's also the highest point in southwest England, so no wonder the weather is so bad up here.
We've just made a quick detour to pick up a few beers at a place called the Ramsbury Brewing and Distilling Company, and as we pulled up, Sarah just told me a fact which has actually blown my mind. Go on, share it.
So the owner of this place is also actually the owner of H&M, you know, the clothing brand.
The clothing, pretty much the biggest clothing brand in the world. That is insane. And he owns this tiny little microbrewery. What on earth is he owning a microbrewery in Ramsbury for?
It's because he lives around here.
Right,
so it's
okay.
just like a local investment, I guess.
I thought that H&M was like a Swedish company. Turns out that owner Stefan Persson, who is worth an estimated 16 million quid, actually owns the entire 19,000 acre Ramsbury estate that the brewery's on, and the local pub for good measure.
Well, the weather has been full on miserable today, and it's really quite annoying because we are actually coming towards the end of our trip now. But anyway, Jay has cooked us up some lovely comfort food to make us feel better, and I cannot wait to dig into this. This looks incredible. We'd planned to do a walk this morning from the car park that we stayed at last night, because there's a trailhead that starts here and goes by a couple of attractions that we want to see. However, it is chucking it down. So yeah, we're not just going to be walking around in the rain. That is not fun for us. And we saw that there is a car park really close by one of the attractions, so we're going to nip around there and just see it that way instead.
The Uffington White Horse is a beautiful artwork carved into the side of this amazing viewpoint, which dates back over 3,000 years to prehistoric times and is by far Britain's oldest chalk figure. Like many of the historical sites around here, it's shrouded in mystery, and no one really knows why it was originally built. But it wasn't exactly what we'd imagined. Well, I'm not going to lie. These aren't my favourite type of site because they're a bit underwhelming, a bit anticlimactic, because basically it's a really lovely view from the top of the hill, but you can't actually see the thing that you go there to see, which is the White Horse. You literally can see bits of it, but the whole point is that you can, you know, visualise the whole thing together.
Yeah.
The history, yeah, exactly. The history behind it is incredible. So it just doesn't sort of match up with what you actually get to see. Anyway.
We saw it better from the road on the way in. So we're going to try and kind of drive round and get a better viewpoint so that we can see it from there. I don't know if it's possible, but we're going to give it a go. Okay, we think we've found a viewpoint where you might be able to see it a bit better, what we're talking about, but there's absolutely nowhere to park. So Jay and AD have just pulled over in a passing place and are waiting in the van, and I'm just running back to try and get a view of it. I think maybe you can see it a little bit better from here, but not really. Probably not on the camera at all. And the kites flying in the sky have definitely got the best view of it. Anyway, can't win them all. That's brilliant from up there.
Oh, is it?
No, it's not. Can't see anything at all. What an absolute waste of time. Well, that is the end of our time in North Wessex Downs, and despite the weather trying to dampen our spirits, we've had a really great time here.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think that before we came here we'd never heard of Averyhenge.
I know.
And that thing is just absolutely massive, isn't it?
Loved
and
it there.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. We really enjoyed our time in Marlborough, that little town that we visited. And we got to spend plenty of time outside as well, even though, as you say, the weather tried to ruin that as well. So it has been really fun. But not only is that the end of our time in the North Wessex Downs area of outstanding natural beauty, but it's actually the end of our series on the AONBs in England. We were planning on visiting another one, but we just completely run out of time because it is time for our next big adventure, which we're going on very soon and we're having to do some preparations for. But it's just gone so quickly, it happened so fast.
I know, at the beginning it felt like we had so much time and so many places to visit, and I guess we have visited loads of different places.
Yeah, we've been all up and down the country.
Yeah, it's just been a bit of a whirlwind, I guess, the last few weeks visiting so many different places. Overall, we have had an incredible time exploring these areas of outstanding natural beauty, and it's just been such a fun way to explore different parts of England that we have never even heard of before. I think it was a good time of year to do it because, like we said, the schools aren't out yet, so that made it less busier. But we had good weather as well, which meant that we could spend a lot of time outside.
Yeah.
And just, I don't know, we just saw some stunning places, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And really varied places as well that I don't think we would have seen just going to kind of like the popular tourist spots. And I don't think we ever really struggled for parking.
No.
Like, some of the places that we parked in weren't that picturesque and they were just laybys and stuff, but we could never not find somewhere to park, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And yet the same problems still exist. In general, there's just a really poor attitude towards camper vans and motorhomes in this country. There are absolutely no specific services for camper vans, and there are certainly no free ones like you get on the continent.
Yeah, I mean, campsites, we didn't really find any at all, I don't think, for less than 30 quid.
No.
So that can add up pretty quickly, and it's just not an expense that you have when you're in countries like Spain and France and Morocco. You can just live so much cheaper there, right?
Yeah. And so I guess that brings us to the big question that we've been trying to solve for ourselves, which is, has it changed our mind on camper vanning in England? And the answer is yes and no.
yeah, I guess that's
a
right.
bit of a cop-out, but there's some positives and there's been some negatives as well.
Yeah, I think positives that we didn't expect, but yeah, just the negative stuff. You just can't get away from it. And I think things that happened, like, the weather was really nice, it was sunny, we had all the doors open, and I was thinking, we can do this. And then, like, that afternoon, it just tips it down with rain and you think, no, I can't.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in this. Get me to Spain.
But I suppose the main positive that we have taken out of it is that if you look a little further afield than the big tourist places that are around in England, then you can find some little gems that are a bit off the beaten track, that not many people visit, and that are just a lot easier to live and travel in a van in.
Yeah. So what was your favourite one? What was your favourite place that we went to?
Do you know, that's a really hard one, and actually I think a lot of it is down to the weather as well.
Yeah.
The places where we had the best weather, I think we probably have the best memories from.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Dedham Vale.
That's the same as what I was going to say.
Yeah, we had such a fun time there.
Yeah.
Such a beautiful place, really refreshing attitude towards van lifers. Obviously, free park ups, pretty much, and welcoming park ups as well.
Yeah, it was really nice, and that was probably one of, if not the smallest place that we went to.
Okay, well, I've got a question for you then. What's next?
Oh yeah, we're going to take a week off, right?
Yeah.
Because we have genuinely just got so much preparation to do for our next big adventure. And I think we wait to tell them, you know?
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't want to spoil the surprise.
Okay, let's leave it on a cliffhanger.
Yeah. So we will see you in our next destination, and I think you guys are going to be really surprised.
If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up down below. If you're new around here and you're not subscribed, then hit that subscribe button now. And don't forget to hit that little notification bell as well, so you get told every time we post a new video. Next time, we will see you in